And we're live. Welcome everybody to the Sprint Agile Show. Today we have the pleasure of having Richard Triggs on the show. Richard is an executive search specialist, the author of The Hidden Job Market. He's a best-selling author as well, and the founder of Arete Executive and the Boardroom. I had the pleasure of learning from Richard a few years ago. Richard was my coach for a period about 2 or 3 years ago, and it was amazing. I learned so much from Richard, and now hopefully we can share some of that experience with everyone today. Thank you, Richard, and welcome to the show.
Look, Arash, it's my absolute pleasure to be here, and it's amazing to think that you and I had that coaching relationship 2 or 3 years ago. It feels like it was 2 or 3 months ago. Time has become so confused during this COVID period. I talked to somebody yesterday, and it feels like a year ago, and another person I spoke to a year ago, it feels like it was yesterday. So time has lost a lot of meaning. But Arash, I need you to be my coach as to how I can grow such a magnificent moustache, because I've always had a lot of moustache envy,
Oh
talking to you.
no, that's I mean, you got a beautiful beard as well, and I remember it was
uh,
much longer before.
Right. It comes and
Yeah,
it goes. It's long and it's short. But anyway, it's
yeah.
lovely to be here. So, what would you like to talk about today?
Yeah, today we want to talk about how to become an executive, how to progress your career, especially for people who are working in larger corporates, or
Yeah.
if they're, or if they're, if one of their dreams is to work in a larger corporate and gradually become an executive. What are some strategies? What are some tactics? And yeah, how can we get there?
Right.
So I guess this is a very broad question, and every person would have a different path, but there are some commonalities in between them. What do you think?
Well, so I think there's probably there's two aspects to this question. One aspect is, if you're already in the organization, how do you progress your career within the organization? And the other aspect is, if you're not currently working in your employer of choice, how do you get a job with your employer of choice, right? So, yeah, there are some similarities to both, but I might talk about, well, how do you get a job with your employer of choice first, and then we'll talk about some of the subtle nuances. So basically, the traditional recruitment market is that people see an ad on Seek, they apply for a job, and oh, look at my messy office. My apologies. They apply for a job, and then they pray that the recruiter will contact them, and they will be offered that role. The reality, however, is that probably 80% of jobs are never advertised. They never get to a recruiter. They never get to the open job market. They are recruited through the hidden job market. My book, Uncover the Hidden Job Market. There's a new edition coming out this year, but largely it's unchanged. If anybody would like a free copy, very happy to supply one. The whole idea is that if 80% of jobs are never advertised, how do you access those jobs? Because by the time the job gets to a recruiter like me, number one, they've already exhausted their own pool of talent because they don't want to pay recruiters' fees. It's a regrettable spend. But by the time it gets to me and we advertise the role, the competition for that role is massive. To
Hmm.
give you an indication, recently we advertised a role for a CEO of an ASX listed technology company, about an $800,000 package. So, a very, very significant role. We had 480 applicants, right? So recruiters, and I include myself, are lazy and stupid. We only want to put the squarest peg into the square hole. So if you're not exactly the square peg for that brief, and there's 480 applicants, the likelihood of you getting interviewed for the role, let alone being offered the role, is very low. So how do you get around that, right? You need to get in front of your employer before they know that they need you. And if you can get in front of the employer before they know that they need you, and you can demonstrate that you can solve their problems and take away their pain, they will hire you even if they don't have a vacancy. All right. So the reason that I'm talking about this is that this is equally true for both the applicant or the job seeker or the person who is within a business. Now, I talk to a lot of people who are in businesses and they go, oh, my boss doesn't really understand my capability. I'm not really, utilizing my full skill set. I feel constrained. I'm not getting a pay rise. I'm not getting the responsibility, the authority, blah, 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 that I want, right? But the reality is that they're not talking to their boss about it. So whether you're an applicant or whether you're internal in a company, you say to the key decision maker, so let's assume I'm talking to Arash. So you say, look, Arash, if you don't mind me asking, what is the pebble in your shoe? What's keeping you awake at night? Right? Now, I was talking to a CEO just yesterday about this. I asked this question 20 times a week, right? The interesting thing is, I was talking to this guy yesterday as a CEO. I've never, ever spoken to him before. He does not know me from a grain of salt. I'm a complete, total stranger. And he said to me, well, Richard, in confidence, this is a pebble in my shoe, right? I'm thinking, why would this guy tell me this stuff? He doesn't know me. He's revealing deep, dark secrets about his business to me, and I'm a complete stranger. It's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's anything to do with me, but for whatever reason, people share stuff. So, so what was the issue for him? He is the CEO of a company, venture capital company.
Yep.
And he wants to acquire new businesses. However, his board are resistant to him because they have, during COVID, become very risk adverse, right? So anyway, we unpeeled the onion, as they say. We explored it, and we got very clear about what was his challenge. And I said to him, let's call this guy Fred. I go, Fred, if I can solve that problem for you, would that be valuable? And Fred went, oh, Richard, if you can solve that problem for me, that would be awesome. And I said, well, Fred, let me tell you when I've done it before, right? Now, I'm just using that example. People and organizations want to hire people who can solve their problems and take away their pain, right? It's a little bit like when you go to the surgeon. If I go to the surgeon and I walk in, I go, oh, g'day, Dr. Arabi. And he says, hello, Mr. Triggs. Thank you for coming in. I'm looking forward to doing your knee replacement. I've done, 50 knee replacements in the last 10 years. I'm the best guy to fix your knee. And I go, well, actually, I don't have a sore knee, Dr. Arabi. I've actually got a sore elbow, right? So people go in, assuming that an organization or a person has a particular problem they can solve, but they don't necessarily have that problem. So what is reality? I go to the doctor and I say, and the doctor says, g'day, Mr. Triggs, or g'day, Richard, how are you? Where are you in pain? And I say, oh, doctor, I've got a really sore elbow. And they say, okay, great. Describe the pain. Is it sharp? Is it dull? Is it your whole arm or just your elbow? Out of 10, what is the pain? Is the pain constant or does it come on at certain times of the day? Let me do an x-ray. Let me do a scan. Let me, really become clear on what the pain point is. And then I will recommend a strategy. Okay, Richard, I've done all that. And I think what you need to have this particular operation. I'm the best guy to do the operation. This is why. I've done it 500 times. If you come in for an operation, I'll fix your elbow, right? That's what happens with a doctor. Okay, so coming back to your original question, Arash, because I know that I'm talking around in circles, right? So
No,
somebody's working. So
sorry, I
understand.
just wanted to, yeah, sorry, carry on then.
Right. So if you're in an organization and you want to move to the executive level, right, by talking to the key decision maker, which could be your boss, it could be somebody else, like, where are you in pain? Okay, you obviously wouldn't use these words, but what's keeping you awake at night? What's the pebble in your shoe? Oh, Richard, we've got this issue with blah blah blah, da da da. And then I ask questions to really identify what is the underlying issue here. And then I say to my boss, right, or this other person in the organization, I would love that to solve that for you. In fact, this is when I've done it before. Or if I haven't done it before, here's some examples of other achievements that I've had in my career which demonstrate my transferable skills. So, Arash, if I could help you to solve that, would that be valuable? Of course, the hiring manager, the boss, the whoever goes, Richard, if you can help me to solve that, that would be awesome. What happens is, and this is not a comment about younger people, right? Because, as you know, Arash, I run these things called the sounding board, where I get CEOs together and they talk about a lot of their challenges. And one of the guys that was in a sounding board a couple of weeks ago, who's a managing partner of a very, very significant accounting practice, global business. He runs the business in Queensland. I won't say which one it is. He said to me, you know what, Richard, our biggest challenge at the moment is we have young people coming into the business and we say to them, Mary, I love you. Again, not their exact words, but Mary, I love you. We think you're awesome. What do you need for us to retain you? For us to retain you, what do you need? And Mary goes, oh, I'm really, really happy. And then 4 weeks later, she resigns, right? And she goes to work for somebody else because they've maybe offered her a bit more money or a bit more seniority or whatever it is. And so he's like, far out, dude. We want to do the best thing we can. We want to give these people the opportunities. But
why wouldn't they speak?
Why?
Wouldn't they talk? Yeah.
Well, what I said to him, I think there's a couple of things on that. And I know we're getting off the track here, but you know me, Arash, I have no reservation about talking about things. But, I think the reality is younger people, and I'm almost turning 54, I don't even regard myself as old, but, in the eyes of a 22-year-old, I'm probably an old bugger, right? They don't trust us. They look at the world. They look at global warming. They look at the conflict, in Russia and, Europe at the moment. They look at COVID. They look at the floods. They look at everything. They go, I can't trust these old people. And I think one of the other things, I think, just let me finish it. I think one of the other things is they go, you know what? The traditional Great Australian dream is you buy a house, you get married, you have kids, blah, blah, blah. I can't buy a house. A very drab, underwhelming, home on the Sunshine Coast near the beach is like $1.8 million.
Wow.
I can't buy a house. So therefore, if I can't buy a house, and a lot of younger people are, questioning about being in a relationship and having kids, but that's an entirely different conversation. If I can't buy a house and I can't trust my boss because old people have, destroyed the world, then why would I care? Why would I be loyal? Why? So we as older people can say to younger people, look, we love you. We want to give you what you want. What do you need? They go, no, not interested, right?
Yeah.
Whereas the reality is, if a younger person, not even a young person, a person said to their boss, so Shub, I work for you, Arash, you're an awesome boss. You're awesome. I really, really respect how you're running this team. And what I wanted to just say to you, Arash, is what can I do to help you? What's the pebble in your shoe? What's keeping you awake at night? And if I could help you to do that, would that be valuable? What would you say? You'd say, that's awesome, Richard. I'd love you to do
Yeah.
that. Right?
Now,
But people don't have that conversation because people go, I'm not real. I was talking to a woman the other day, her daughter has got a new job. She's a dentist. Anyway, it doesn't matter. But and the mother, who's a friend of mine, said the mother was not feeling very happy about her job. And her daughter said to her, yeah, but mum, everybody hates their job, right? Everybody hates their job. It just comes with the territory. You don't have a job because you love it. You do it because it makes money for you. But it's completely normal that everybody hates their job, right?
that's right.
What an absolutely shit place to be.
Yeah.
Imagine that that's the case. Everybody gets a job. It's like, oh, I'm going to a job. Oh, I hate my job. Oh, it's terrible. I'd rather
So,
be anywhere else than be here. Awful.
Richard,
So,
Richard, I wanted to talk about two other elements that may be in play here. So, one of them is the
yeah,
skills and competencies needed, because you need to have either done it before or at least have transferable skills or similar things that you have done before when you're proposing a solution to the pebble in someone's shoe, right? So,
yeah,
this is one aspect that I want to talk to you about. And then there's another aspect of, say, for example, I'll go to my boss and say, "What's the pebble in your shoe?" And he tells me, "I say, yeah, I know exactly how to solve it. I've done it 10 times before. Let me do it." And then he keeps interfering and he keeps not providing that autonomy needed to basically do that.
yeah.
What do you think about these two situations?
Yeah, well, again, that's very common feedback, right? So I would say, in my experience of talking to CEOs and senior business leaders, almost 100% of the time, if somebody said, look, I really want to help you to solve the pebble in your shoe,
Yes.
I haven't done it before. However, I really want to help you. They would bend over backwards to support and train that person because their integrity and their aspiration is honest, right?
Absolutely true on the sea level. But
Yeah.
what do you think about a few levels down? Maybe on
Well,
the
well,
head level below?
well. Good question. Let's come back to that. I think on the other side of the coin, it's a two-way. It's an exchange of value.
Mm.
Arash, if I can help you to get what you want, it's only reasonable that you help me to get what I want, isn't it? Yeah. So, and again, I don't think employees, and I've run, in the past, I've had 750 employees working for me. I now have five. Five is much easier than 750. But, I think there has to be that exchange of value. So if I said to you, Rash, look, I know that's your pebble in your shoe, and I want to help you to solve that. And I want to have a meeting with you once a month or once a week where I can demonstrate to you quantifiably what progress has been made. But Arash, at the end of the day, other than that, I want you to let me do it. Stay out of my business. Is that okay with you? Is that okay with you that we do that?
Of
And you
course,
don't,
absolutely. I
of
love
course,
it. Yeah.
of course, right? But
But I'm
employees,
confident, right?
yeah,
I'm not
right. But
scared.
you
Sometimes
know,
managers are
I talk to CEOs of family-owned businesses, right?
Mm,
And so the managing director or the executive chair or whatever has owned. I had a conversation like this just yesterday. They've owned this business for 50 years.
mm.
They bring in a CEO because they don't want to run it anymore,
Yes.
and yet they keep interfering. And the CEO says to me, "Oh my God, Richard, I'm pulling my hair out. I'm trying to do this, that, and the other, and the bloody owner, won't let me do my job." I go, "Well, have you brought it up with him?" No,
Yes.
right?
You're right.
We're
Absolutely.
human beings. We need to have we need to be open. I mean, at the end of the day, if I'm a CEO of a company and the owner says to me, Richard, I say, look, Bill, you need to just go on holidays and let me run the business. And Bill keeps interfering. I need to say, look, Bill, do you want me to be here or not?
Yes.
Right? I want to be here. I love the business. I'm achieving good things. But if you don't want to be here, then let's just call it a day. But everybody lives in fear.
Yes.
Well, if I was to say that, what if they said, oh, you're sacked? Right? And it's like, well, better to be sacked than to live. It's like being in a relationship, right? I was in a relationship, the relationship ended. It's caused me, a lot of heartache. But I look over the last 3 months and the relationship was terrible. Why would I want to stay in a terrible relationship? What is it about human beings that they will persevere and put up with being in pain rather than just go, you know what, this isn't working for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's not working for me. So no matter what level you are, the entry level person, the middle level management person, the C-suite executive person, the challenge is, if you're lower down on the totem pole, so to speak, your boss, is still on this pathway to achieving their full potential.
Mm-hmm.
And they may be, for want of a better term, narcissistic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I only want things which will help me to succeed, right?
Mm-hmm.
So as that person, as the employee, it's thinking about who can champion me, right? I've got this great idea. The system's currently like this. It's not working. What if we were to radically change the system? And their boss goes, Richard, just shut up and do your job, right? Because they don't want the stress and the pain of
Mm-hmm.
innovation and change. So
Yes.
if I want to stay in that business and my boss is resistant to the value that I can add, who else could champion me?
Mm-hmm.
Who is receptive to what I want to do? Because at the end of the day, quite frankly, and I've had this experience in my life, I moved to Cairns. I was the, for want of a better term, regional manager for P&O.
Mm.
My boss was in his 60s. He was basically just biding time, to retirement. I lovely guy, and I don't even know if he's still alive. But I hope he is. But I knew that I wasn't going to be able to do the radical changes to recreate the business. So I went to his boss, right? And as a result, my boss, I ended up that he reported to me, right?
Mm.
So I kind of leapfrogged over him. He ended up reporting to me. It was uncomfortable, but you've got to be brave. You have to be brave and have these tough conversations, whether it's with your boss, whether it's your lover, whether it's your child, whether it's God, whatever. People, I think, it's just too disposable now. I'm in a job. My boss is a dickhead. I'll just go and get another job.
Mm.
So people bounce around. It's like I'm in a
Yeah.
relationship with a man. He's a bit of an idiot. So rather than trying to resolve my relationship with this man, I'm just going to get another relationship.
Mm.
I mean, it could work, but if you can have some brave conversations,
Yeah.
and I know this is probably not what you expected in this conversation, Aaron,
No, it's
but
great. It's good to hear advice. Definitely.
if you can say to your boss, as I say to you, Arash, assuming you're my boss, Arash, how can I help you?
Mm-hmm.
I think you're awesome. I really, really respect what you do. You're an awesome guy. All I want to do is to just help you to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And by helping you to succeed, obviously, I want to succeed too.
Yes.
Right? Okay. What can I do for you to help you to succeed?
Mm-hmm.
What would most bosses say?
Do this, give you,
Yeah.
something. Yeah.
They'd be delighted.
Yeah.
Delighted because what they're typically experiencing is employees going, it's all about me.
Yeah.
They're saying to the boss, what can you do for me? What can you do for
Absolutely.
me? I want more money, more seniority, more promotion, more flexibility, more this, more that, more blah, blah. the employee, and don't get me wrong, I understand that, but the employee says, to the employer, what can you do for me? Whereas the reality is, and this is a broader life lesson, if I can help you to get what you want, then it's okay for me to get what I want, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Of
Absolutely.
course. Of
100%.
course. Yeah. So again, coming back to the original question, if you're going into an interview with a new employer, I would say, Arash, really respect the fact that you're interviewing me for this job. Let me ask you a question, sort of a bit of an unusual question, if you don't mind me asking. In 12 months' time, assuming you employed me, and we sat down and you did my performance review, what would I have needed to have achieved in order to get 100%? For you to be absolutely delighted that you hired me. And you'd go, oh, Richard.
On the spot, man.
And you go, oh, Richard, well, what I'd really love you to do is you do this and this and this and this, right? You tell me, right? You tell me. I'd go, excellent, Arash. I would love to do that for you, right? Because I'm actually really good at doing that. In fact, let me share with you some examples of when I've done it before.
Yes.
Right? To give you a level of confidence that you can hire me into the role.
And there's no way that you're not going to get that if you do that.
Exactly. And if you're an employee, sorry, Rash, just to finish. Yeah. If you're an employee, it's exactly the same conversation. Arash, I've worked for you for 8 months. You're an awesome guy. I love working for you. Honestly, I think you're doing the best job you could. Let's imagine it's a year from now and we're sitting down and doing my performance review. What would I need to have achieved for you to be going, I'm delighted that Richard is on my team. And you'd go, oh, Richard, I need you to do blah, blah, blah. And I would do it, right?
Yes.
Okay. It's a flipping, right? Employees, and I'm not being a generalist here, but it's employers are like, well, what's in it for me? What are you going to do for me, right? Whereas the reality is, if I can serve you with love in my heart,
then I'll get what I want.
You'll give me what I want.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
It's like being in a relationship. If I love this woman completely, unconditionally, what will result? She will love me.
Yes.
So instead of saying, I want love, it's like, let me give love. Let me give love, and in return be loved.
Absolutely on the spot, Richard. I love how you turned it around and explained how it works from a system level, basically one level above, when we look at the whole dynamics of the relationship. So now we're almost at time. I mean, we've already gone past them, but there's one question that I really want to talk about. It's I think one key aspect is the skills needed. So if I want to progress my career towards an executive level position, what skills should I be focusing on? What do you think are some of the things that I should start learning?
Well, it's one of those questions. I went and did an MBA, right? And one of my lecturers, a guy named Dr. Robert Dew, who has become a good friend of mine, he goes, Richard, basically you answer every question with, it depends, right?
Yes.
So it depends. I think the truth is, once again, if you're talking to your boss, excuse me, got a bit of a cold. If you're talking to your boss and you say, look, I really want to do this for you, where do you think I need to upskill? And they say, I think you should do an MBA, or I think you should do a Masters in Finance, or I think you should do the AICD Company Directors course, whatever it is. I don't think there's any right or wrong. What I will say about an MBA, right, because I've got an executive MBA, historically, an MBA was for people who, let's say you're an engineer or a dentist or a doctor, you get promoted into a leadership role in a business. Your undergraduate qualification was not in business. It was being a dentist or a doctor or an engineer, right? So you go into an MBA and you get a bit of finance, a bit of strategy, and a bit of HR and a bit of marketing, blah, 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 to round out your skills. That's what an MBA was. What an MBA is now is, let's just get people through their undergraduate degree and then put them in an MBA, and we're going to charge them $70,000 or whatever an MBA costs now. I did mine 20 years ago. And then the person comes out of the MBA and go, Richard, and I know this because I go to universities. I've got an MBA, how much is my MBA worth in the market? I go, it's not worth anything. Nothing. Right? The MBAs used to invite me to talk to the students. They don't invite me anymore. Right? Because I'd say your MBA is worth nothing. It is your key achievements and transferable skills that are valuable. Mm-hmm. Don't get me wrong. I'm very pleased that I did an MBA. I value the qualification, but it's not the ticket, right? So if you're a finance professional, I would recommend that you, instead of going broad and narrow, or which is what I say an MBA is, you go, tight and deep. Okay, instead of doing an MBA, we can do a master's in accounting or whatever the equivalent is. I don't know. Mm-hmm. Or if I'm in HR, I'm going to do a master's in HR or a master's in MBA in marketing. But reality is, I've been in executive recruitment now for 20 years. I say this with absolute truth. The number of times that a client has said to me in 20 years, we want a candidate with an MBA, definitely less than 10 times.
Yes.
Right? I probably employed well over 1,000 C-suite executives. Employers don't care.
That's right.
They don't care. Right. Yeah. So come back to your question. So you say to the employer, what would I need to deliver you in order for you to be delighted? Well, Richard, I'd like you to deliver that. And then I have a little bit of self-reflection. I go, well, for me to deliver that for you, I think that I probably need to be upskilled in blah, blah, blah. What can we do? Should I do a course? Should I get a mentor? How can you help me, boss? How can you help me to have the skills to enable me to do what you need me to do?
Exactly.
It's an exchange of value, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. The boss is not an arsehole. I mean, some bosses are assholes, right? But the boss is not an asshole. The boss wants to succeed.
Yes.
I want to succeed. So if I can have a conversation with my boss and say, I know you want to succeed, and I know that I want to succeed, how can I help you to succeed? And how can you give me some support, some training, some qualifications to help me? Essentially, I want you to help me to help you.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
It's simple.
So Richard, we've gone way over time. As much as I love this conversation, I would like to go for hours. I think we have to come to an end today. But I would definitely love to invite you more in future. So there's lots of other things we can learn from you.
Yeah.
I mean, really good framework, which also employs some spirituality for people to advance their career and do what they love to do. So maybe next time, if you're up for it.
Look, Arash, I thoroughly enjoy these conversations too. I just shared a post on Facebook this morning, and it was a skeleton hugging a woman who was in grief. So this woman, she's nude. It's not a raunchy picture, but she's in grief. Like, why is the picture to me is like, why is life so hard? And the skeleton's hugging her, right? And what I saw there was like, I'm hugging you because, I empathize, but you are going to die.
Yes.
You are going to die. And soon you'll be a skeleton. So, whatever it is that's causing you such grief, and I've been through my own period of grief recently, whatever it is that's causing you grief really is inconsequential.
Mhm.
Have a happy life. Love the people that you love. Be loved. Your career, your children, your life, your hobbies, your friends, and so on. Just enjoy this magnificent experience called life.
Absolutely, absolutely, Richard.
Yeah,
Uh, I really enjoy that conversation as well. So I think let's call it time today,
sure.
and we'll book another time to go through the details. And I really love that framework that you use, and yeah, it's given me so much value as well.
It makes me a bit emotional, Arash.
Oh,
Life is beautiful.
life is beautiful. Absolutely, Richard. It was such a pleasure having you on the show, and thank you everyone for watching. Thanks, Richard.
Beautiful. Thank you.